One.
Okay, and welcome to Mythical Monster Investigations, episode 18. This will probably be a quick one because we are looking at the Siren, which, while it does exist in other cultures, really?
I couldn't find anything else that wasn't pornographic. That's the only safe image I found.
Well, thank you for making it not pornographic. I appreciate
Of every image I was prepared for, that was not one of them.
That was literally the first thing that came up when I typed in Siren clip art.
Of course it was.
I mean, yeah, that would be exactly which. Okay. So, we're not going to be talking about that type of siren. The siren we're going to be talking about is from Greek mythology, and it's actually going to be one of many Greek-themed monsters we're going to be looking at in this series because, as it turns out, Greece has a lot of monsters and a lot of stories, and they are very popular in the West. Now, the reason they're so popular in the West is because, well, nowadays because Hollywood used them so much, but also because of the Greek and Roman influences that were put in the original founding of America, which you can tell that in some of our architecture, some of our democratic policies, voting, other things like that. So Greek influence definitely had it, which is why over on the west side of the hemisphere, we tend to know Greek monsters more than some of the various monsters and demons over in the east. As Japan has exceedingly more monsters and demons than Greece, like exceedingly more, like so many more. Which, I mean, I don't think that some of the more Eastern stories and monsters really started coming to America until anime really started picking up. And when did anime start picking up?
1970s, 1980s type deal.
It was it was around there, and then in terms of over here, it wasn't that big of a thing that people didn't sort of outcast, for lack of a better word, until like the early and mid thousands.
Yeah, because I mean, the most I know is like a lot of people were kind of introduced to anime through Dragon Ball Z, right?
Yes, that is why it is considered the grandfather of it.
Okay.
Or at least one of them. There are many.
Right.
There are many original ones. That one is one of the more popular ones.
Yeah.
They have a lot of yokais.
Oh yeah, so
and
many.
all of the yokais.
And yogais for the Chinese.
And yaoguais.
Yeah, a lot. But like I said, so over here, going over the Siren, and of course, most people when they think of Siren, when they're not thinking of the colorful lights on top of emergency vehicles, they're often thinking about the phrase "Beware the siren's call," which denotes appealing nature to a potentially dangerous situation, being called into something that seems like it will be good, but is often hazardous at best. And this, of course, does refer to the siren from Greek mythology, of which the saying comes from, and the name means one who entangles or one who binds. However, this definition of its name, along with its appearance, is actually greatly disputed. The depiction of this creature is typically stated to be a woman with bird-like features. Now, the dispute is what bird-like features. In some instances, it's just a bird with a woman's head on top. Others, it's a woman with the legs of a bird and wings on her back or wings for her arms. Other ones, it's a woman with just bird's feet and wings. It varies. But whatever the variation, it's almost always. In fact, I don't know of any that it's not. It's, as far as I know, always a woman, and it always has bird-like features. Now, this is not exclusively Greek, but the Greek version is the most recognizable, and it comes from two primary source stories. And actually, before we get into the stories, because this is such a short one, and once we get into it, it's just going to kind of flow real quickly. We're actually going to take an early pause and play Monster Pokemon now. So, Zed,
Oh,
I hope you're
okay.
ready for it.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
I am. I wasn't ready for it to be that early, but I am.
Yes, no, this time we're going to go a little faster because, like I said, Siren's going to be relatively quick. So, and once we get into it, it's going to actually flow pretty fast. So, this is a good stopping point. So,
All
go
right.
ahead, take it away.
Okay, well, unsurprisingly, there is a Pokemon that looks very much like a Siren. That would be the Pokemon Primarina, one of the more recent ones.
I'm
But
shocked.
taking a look at the entries, Milotic also is a fair fit, considering its Dex entry. Which one was that? Oh, here we go. It talks about Milotic being very beautiful, and that those that see it forget their combative spirits.
Is that
So
the
anyone
steel-looking one or
No,
the?
no, no. That's
I
the eel looking
they
one
should be in
with
order now.
the pink things. But that is what it refers to as that. Primarina is very obvious. It just somewhat looks like one.
And it sings.
And it sings. Yes, it is known for its songs.
No, that's definitely Siren-like.
Yes.
That's why I instantly thought Primarina, just because
Yes, it is known for songs.
it's the
Uh,
diva Pokemon.
Oh,
yes. Now its songs don't lead people to want to swim and drown, but
No, I think its songs do drown you in water types attacks. So
well, that's in a battle.
I mean, technically, they're always fighting them in the myths. You know, stay alive. So I guess it could still technically work.
I guess.
Eh. Again, as always, it's to show Pokemon's weird.
Yes.
And the influence that these creatures have. So it's not like the spread of Greek mythological monsters hasn't reached um, the East, which I think they know mostly about it. Like that's the thing. If you type up King of the Gods in a Google search, you mostly just get Zeus. Even though there are other kings of gods through various other mythologies, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, there are other kings of the gods, but Zeus is probably the only one that, like, literally has the title King of the Gods. Like, I mean, Odin, he goes by All Father more than King of the Gods. I believe it's
Isn't there a King of the Gods in Journey to the West?
no, that's the Jade Emperor.
Yes, you're thinking of the Jade Emperor, who
he
is
Oh.
the
he
head
would
of the Heaven bureaucracy.
he would be technically the king of the gods, but he goes by Jade Emperor. He never. I mean, a king is less than a emperor in terms of rank. Not to mention, I believe Raw is it Raw? Yeah, I think was it Raw?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ra, God of the Sun.
yeah. He goes by God of the Sun. He doesn't go by King of the
What
God.
about
Osiris.
isn't Vishnu King of the Gods? No, Osiris is King of the Underworld.
No, he's king of the underworld, but people do often think of Osiris. But I'm about to say he's king of the underworld. Vishnu, Hindu, I believe.
Yeah, Vishnu's Hindu.
Isn't Vishnu? Vishnu goes by another title, if I'm not mistaken.
And I know the Buddha's doesn't go by King of the Gods. He's like the exalted one or some other.
Vishnu. I mean, Buddha isn't even close to being a king of it.
No, he was a king one time before he abandoned
Yeah,
his
that's
family.
the problem. Vishnu's go by protector.
Is it protector?
He's more of a protector than he is a. And I mean, I don't doubt, like, you could probably equate him to being king of the, because my knowledge of Hindu deities is lacking. I'm only just
Well,
starting to get back covering over it again.
well, yeah, because there's a lot of Hindu deities.
No more than any other myth, really.
Uh,
I just don't look into it as much as I do Egyptian and Greek and Chinese and Japanese and.
Yeah, no, Hindus, while they have main deities, they also have a lot of smaller deities. Like, That's a very deep rabbit hole, is my point.
No worse than some of the other myths I've been digging into. So
Fair enough. It's like I'm not gonna lie, digging into myths like Hinduism was just like, oh my god.
I
But
find Egyptians
we
more.
can save
Yeah,
Hinduism for another
I
time.
find Egyptians more overwhelming just because the family tree is a family stick,
Yeah,
and it's
that's
very
true.
hard to keep track. That and Greek because it's their family tree is like a tumbleweed. That's how it goes. It's like the myth. You judge these myths by how much their family tree looked like a freaking Jenga
no,
puzzle or something.
no, yeah, that's the thing. Hinduism, when you really look into it, um, it's like having
There's this
uh,
more
oh,
reincarnation and stuff, and it's hard to keep track of who's at
not
time.
entirely. When you actually have deities and look at all the deities and how you become deities and everything else, looking at their family tree, it's kind of like having 10 different strings, putting them in a bag, and then somehow pulling them out, and they're all tangled like nonsense.
I, ironically enough, I think it's Norse mythologies that have the most straight of the family trees.
They really do.
You wouldn't
Which is
think it.
no, you wouldn't, but apparently they put some thought into their warlike religion. Eh. Okay, we've gotten off track. What was I talking about?
The
Oh, right.
sources.
Yeah. So the sources, two of the primary examples we get are from two very famous Greek stories. The first, the most famous, being the Odyssey, which is, of course, the most well known, and it's Homer's epic, which describes Odysseus's journey home to get back to his wife, which was a 10-year journey, 8 of those years spent sleeping with a goddess. Just throwing it out there.
And he got
Um,
again. He got in trouble pissing off one goddess, and you're advocating him to piss off another.
I'm just saying, look, it's hard for me to feel bad for the man when, all the bad stuff happened, and then 8 years of his so-called bad luck was literally spent sleeping with an actual goddess. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry,
And
Miss Goddess, who saved me from the ocean. I don't want to be with you. I'm gonna be with my wife, who is literally probably half the beauty of you. Please don't smite me. Give me a boat so I can get back to my goddess. I don't want to sleep with you.
I mean, eventually he did kind of say that.
Yeah, after the other gods made her give him back.
Still, he could have done. I'm just saying, 8 years. It's kind of hard for me to justify that.
It.
Okay.
Oh,
On a side note, it was also Calypso. Davy Jones is going to be pissed.
I mean, I think Odysseus can take him.
Davy Jones, really?
Yeah, I'm thinking the one from Pirate Caribbean. Yeah, I think he can take him.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, Odysseus is just a guy.
He got a bow, though.
Davy Jones is like built up of squid parts.
Yeah, but he got a heart, and if Jack Sparrow was small enough to outsmart him with that heart, I'm pretty sure Odysseus can come up with something.
Okay, we're not seriously debating Odysseus versus Davy Jones. Okay, moving on. Okay, so basically, Odysseus had to fight a lot of different things trying to get back home. The most famous, of course, being Cyclops. Then there was the witch who turned his men to pigs. But he also had to go through the land of the Sirens. And Circe, she was the one who warned him that if he went there, the Sirens would sing their song and they would all be killed. And under her advice, Odysseus told his men to stuff beeswax into their ears as makeshift earplugs, and that way they wouldn't be able to hear the sirens' song and go mad and dash themselves across the rocks. Odysseus, however, ever curious, told his men to tie him to the mast so that he could hear the siren song. And of course, no matter what he said, they were to ignore him so that he could hear it and hopefully not go mad. Of course, as the story goes, it worked perfectly. Odysseus and his men made it through, and the sirens were then said to fall into the sea and drop dead after he escaped, which is the only telling of that, but they do appear one other time in the story of the Argonautica, which I think is the first time I've actually pronounced something correct on this podcast. Um, the Argonautica, better known as Jason and the Argonauts, which has been adapted into several movies, TV shows, cartoon shows, and has spawned various different loosely based adaptations on it. Which I think the most recent would be Percy Jackson's second book, maybe. I don't know. My brother was more into Percy Jackson than I was.
Yeah, I was about to
And
say I've only read the first one, so I have.
I've not read any of them, so
I'm not gonna lie, I literally only saw the movie with my brother.
yeah, the movie's the only thing I've seen is the movie.
Yeah, so I don't actually know, but I know my point is that it's been adapted a lot of times. Most famously, the 1960 movie, which cheesy stop motion effects, but I thought it was fun. If anybody has ever seen it, they know what I mean. Um, So in this same story, they had to pass through the Siren's home. The difference was in this, they didn't plug up their ears. Instead, Jason had Orpheus, who was the guy who loved his wife so much he tried to go into hell to get her back.
Tried
And
to.
then, of
He
course,
did go into hell.
he went into hell to get her back, but he looked back and then she was thrown back into hell, which kind of sucks.
I mean, he got to be with her eventually.
Yeah, when he died.
But yeah, that's
Anyway, so what Orpheus in the myth, which is actually funnily enough often absent in most adaptations of Jason and the Argonauts, is Orpheus was able to get them through by playing music so beautiful that it drowned out the siren's call, and so they got through safe and sound. Which I guess if you tried to put that on cinema, it would actually be kind of boring to watch because essentially you'd just be watching a 2-minute song by a guy playing I think that's a lyre by a guy playing a lyre while they rode. So
The other thing is that you also know anyone adapting it to film would literally just put two songs over top of each other, one of them being much louder to drown out the other one.
pretty much, or you could do some kind of weird techno mash thing and see if it comes out nicely.
they need to do it. They
You think they'd put effort in?
They should do a Scott Pilgrim band battle.
Oh god,
Orpheus versus the Sirens.
that would be. Yeah, it said they just stop and it's a battle of the bands. And
Yes,
Orpheus has to-
exactly.
Actually, you know what? That would be kind of badass.
That
It's like-
actually would be
That would be
probably the
very
better way to do
badass,
it.
Yeah.
right? Like if they did an anime version of Jason and the Argonauts, like that would actually be kind of a fun, trippy way to do it. How hasn't there been an anime of Jason and the Argonauts? There's animes of everything else.
Because anime are primarily Japanese, and Japanese people don't know that much about Greek myths.
Yeah,
As-
but there's
and
literally
as you-
Also, most of them found one good formula and then said, "Just keep doing this."
As you
yeah,
are
but there's
finding out.
literally an anime of Jesus and Buddha sharing an apartment. So come on, is this really so far outside the realm of possibilities?
I don't know the anime with Jesus and Buddha being in an apartment.
Yeah, well, it
Actually,
exists.
I did
I
hear
know
about
it
that one.
exists.
That does exist. That actually does exist.
Exactly, that exists. I know that exists because I saw it one time and I thought it was weird. I'm like, what is this? So don't tell me that this is too weird for anime.
I imagine Buddha would be a horrible roommate. And Jesus would be way too pretentious of a roommate. I just imagine that's how the anime goes.
Well, that's why they were roommates with each other and not an actual person.
But I
That would make
imagine, like, Jesus, I would prefer Jesus because I would imagine he would come through with the pinch. It's like, oh my goodness, I have a party, but I don't have any food. I got you. He opened up the fridge and just started pulling out bread and fish.
Where Buddha would be like,
I thought you were
"Food
going
is
to
in the
say
mind."
I thought you were going to say that the party was low on alcohol and he would just make a bunch of wine.
Well, that's the next part, is I'll fill,
I mean, that too.
you know, I fill the sink with water and it turns to wine. And it's like, yeah, okay, there we go. What's Buddha gonna do?
Although you are correct. Buddha would just go, you see, hunger is an illusion.
Buddha
Yeah.
will only be useful if there's like a monkey chasing me. He could drop a mountain on it.
That's That's fair. That's about the only useful thing he did.
So I mean,
Or-
yeah,
Or trick you into jumping out of his hand and you realize you just painted and whizzed on his finger.
yeah. I'm trying to think what Buddha did in Journey to the. I mean, technically, what else did he do in Journey to the West that was useful?
Technically, he helped with the macaque.
He did. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Wukong ultimately killed it. So
No, he
yeah.
ultimately killed the macaque, but
he helped
yeah,
with
Buddha
the
was slightly involved.
He helped with
He
the
sat
rock,
down looking self-righteous.
the giant bird. He helped with the giant bird.
Okay.
He also helped with. Well, no, he was afraid of the scorpion.
Yes, he was. No, he was afraid of the scorpion. Yes, because the scorpion stung him.
Yeah, while he was meditating.
What a bitch.
There was one other thing. What was? Oh, that's right. When they were dealing with the fucking rhino.
Which one? There was several times when they dealt with rhinos.
The one with the jade ring that sucked everything up.
Oh yes. Well,
Although on that
he
one
didn't
he was
deal with that. Lao Tzu dealt with that.
No. Lao Tzu dealt with it, but I didn't. First, he went to the Buddha for help, and the Buddha said, "I know what will solve this,
Yeah,
but
and
I'm
he
not
did
going to tell you what it
nothing
is."
to help. It took Lao Tzu showing up to resolve that problem.
It did take Lao Tzu showing up.
Nothing of you. He sent one of his servant and go, let's
I
try
said he was
this.
involved.
And then it didn't work. And then Lao Tzu
Yes.
showed up and go, wait a minute, this is
Yes,
mine.
and then his servant said, "Go see Lao Tzu."
Yeah.
Why couldn't he have just told
He should
me
have
that?
led with that. Buddha wasted everyone's time.
Sounds like Buddha.
And then even when they get the scriptures, he kind of screwed them. He gave them the blank one. And they go, oh yeah, never mind, we can't give you the blank one. You guys are too stupid to read that. He literally said that. You guys are too stupid to read that. Let me give you the written one, the baby scrolls for beginners. Let me give those to you guys.
I'd like to say that you were defending Buddha earlier when I called him a deadbeat dad.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, okay, deadbeat dad's a little bit hard, but calls him a lazy bum. Okay, fine, if you want to try that on.
How are deadbeat dads not lazy bums?
I mean, I don't see him more as a father figure because he
Yeah, because he left his child.
He left that child before he even knew what his name was. He just like, I'm out there.
That's not better. That's the definition of a deadbeat dad.
Look, he went out to get a cart in the milk after a brief meditation, just didn't come back in time.
I'm going to say what everyone's thinking. Wow, this is a great podcast about sirens.
I know, right?
We got onto this because Buddha and Jesus were apparently roommates in the anime.
I think we all need to be tested for ADHD.
I actually was. I don't have it, but I was tested. My school really didn't like me.
That's fair.
Yep. Okay, so, all right, back on topic to sirens, where we just talked about how Orpheus basically outplayed the sirens. So, what do these... So, you know, they made it through, then they had the rest of their adventures, they got the Golden Fleece, hooray, not what we're talking about. What do these two instances from these two separate stories have in common about the sirens? Now, of course, there's the music, there's the fight, there's the attempted killing of them, but what I want to bring to attention to is actually the physical description in the stories, which is none. When you read about the actual attacks, there is no description of the sirens themselves. They're described later, they're described by the people warning of them. Even in stories, they're described by sailors, but during the attack, there's rarely actually a description. Most of the time, they're never actually seen. The description comes from the music they hear. They only ever hear the music, the call of the siren, which again is why we have that statement. So what sailors actually describe is them hearing the siren's call, going towards it, and then being dashed along the rocks to their doom. And obviously there were survivors. Otherwise we wouldn't have the stories. But this unseen voice of the actual sirens may reveal a little bit more of the origin of the myth. Now, assuming that not all sailors were delusional or terrified of their own shadows, like some scholars state, and just made them up, what is it that they might have heard? What sound could have had them going over and potentially getting dashed onto the rocks? Well, that's the question. And there are various ones. And one of the ones that we might consider are perhaps animal sounds. Now, to understand this, we have to go back to kindergarten and understand that in kindergarten, they lied to us. Animals, in fact, do not all sound the same. Various animals actually can have distinct voices, sound very differently. And some of them can actually sound very eerily human. If you look on YouTube and various other platforms, you can find many videos of animals making noises that do resemble humans, from screams and cries to babies crying. It's very eerie. So, yeah, sorry, but your kindergarten children's toy lied to you. Not every cow sounds like moo or anything else. Oddly enough, I never actually had this toy as a kid, but my brother did. Which, I don't know, maybe it just wasn't a thing when I was a kid. I don't know. I don't know how old this toy is. But anyway,
No, it was around when we were kids.
I don't remember it.
I never owned
But
one. Well, no, did I own one? Yeah, I think I kept arguing with it.
you insisted the pig didn't make that sound?
Yeah, it was one animal. I'm like, that's a lie. I can't remember which.
Anyway, one of the animals that might be an interesting culprit, not I'm not saying that this animal created the myth, but just to show how varied animal sounds can be, I want to bring attention to an animal known as the lyrebird. Now, the lyrebird is a ground dwelling bird that primarily resides in Australia. And while it's not particularly unique looking, it is extremely unique and because it has a feature that has given it its nickname, the mimic bird. This bird is capable of mimicking thousands and thousands of sounds, anything that is natural to unnatural. It can mimic sounds of cars, sounds of chainsaws, entire wrecking scenes, everything. Like this bird's mimic power is actually very surprising. No, it cannot mimic human speech because I know that question would come up. But it can mimic various cries for help, various crying, and other things, which just goes to show you that animal voices don't always sound like our kindergarten toys told us they do.
Well,
So, sorry, go ahead.
to be fair, they didn't have a lyrebird on the thing.
Well, yeah, because it's primarily in Australia, which I don't know. Would they have this bird in an Australian version of that toy?
I got mad with it because they didn't have a giraffe on there.
I'd like to point out that the Australian version of this toy would just be all the various giant spiders.
And everything else that will kill you.
Yes.
So really, the only sound that would be necessary to make is a
Well,
sound of a
no,
human
it
dying.
would have a bunch of animals on there, and you guys will not know the sounds to. What sound do a koala make? Kangaroo.
Do
Exactly.
giraffes make a sound?
Exactly.
I
You
mean,
want
that
to
is a
mess
good
with someone,
point.
ask someone, say, okay, what sound do a giraffe make? They actually do make a noise. It's very weird.
I feel like I know I've heard their noise before, but I feel like me don't remember it.
It's like a weird type of whale type of thing.
Yeah. Like it's as weird as their bloody tongues. But giraffes are weird, so. But the lyrebird is again the mimic bird. So my point is animals can make a lot of sounds that could sound like crying. And it is possible that some sailors, unfamiliar with various types of animals, could have heard their mating calls or various other sounds, not knowing what they were, and thought they were a cry for help, and basically could have gone towards and dashed themselves on the rocks. Now, that's one possible factor. What's another factor? I pose that one factor we might want to look at is the environment itself. Now, to understand this, we need to know a little bit about how a whistle works. Simple, yes, but you'd be surprised how often very simplistic information is not known by the public. Like, it happens a lot, something that they use every day and they actually have no clue how it works or what it means. But basically, a whistle forces air through a small opening to create a high pitched sound. Simple enough. You see it in various other things. If you blow over empty bottles or jugs, you can produce various tones and various sounds. Even pressing your lips together and blowing can create a whistling sound. So basically, this same phenomenon can happen in the environment too. Wind can create noticeable noise when passing through various obstacles. Forests are known for having various creepy sounds, and the reason for that, for the moaning or strange cackling sounds or anything else that goes in forests that people hear, is because of wind that's passing through the trees, making various sounds, which I think is actually what they may have based that horrible Blair Witch movie on. Ugh. Sorry, but I still don't like that movie. But anyway, so what does this have to do with this story? Well, again, think about the location wise in the myth. The sirens lured them to their death by dashing them on a bunch of rocks. If you have various rocks that have been eroded by waters, various things sticking out, the wind blowing through those, blowing through small depressions, small holes, could create various sounds, even ones that sounds like cries for help. So, what would you get? You would get a bunch of calls that sound like people calling for help. And you have sailors who actually trying to go and help on unfamiliar territories. And if there's fogs or waves, they wouldn't see the rocks and they would be dashed along the shore. Survivors would mention hearing voices, and they would also explain why women's voices would be attributed to these creatures, because oftentimes sounds that winds make through this are considered usually kind of soft, slightly eerie, which softer tones are, of course, attributed to women more than anything else. So, yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So, if you're going with this and you're telling about stories, where does the bird-like features come from? Well, the soft wind voices would kind of attribute for women, but the bird thing is more than likely, again, going back to the sirens don't actually seem to be seen in the attack. So that's not a very interesting story. So where does it go to? Well, they flew away. What flies? Birds. So eventually you combine the woman with the bird and you get sirens. And the ensnaring part comes with what happens to them. Altogether, pretty simple and fairly straightforward. So, in the end, the creation of the siren myth seems to be kindness, natural phenomenon of birds or wind, and exaggeration. What do you think?
The only thing I was thinking when you mentioned rocks was the SpongeBob episode where he carved a bunch of rock versions of himself to lead away jellyfish.
Right, and the wind going through the various holes made whistling
Yes.
sounds, right? Yeah,
Yes.
no, I mean, that's absolutely true.
I thought the Doctor Who with the singing towers.
Yeah, no, like, that's the thing. Rock formations, various things, the wind going through them, passing through them. Mountains, hills, they can absolutely sing. And we've had examples where I don't know, did you guys ever do that experiment in school where you'd go to a particularly windy place and put a bunch of glass or jugs around and see if you could get a sound to come out from that?
I've heard of that. I can't remember if we
I
did
don't
it,
think
but
I've ever heard of that, let alone did it.
I have heard of that where you take a bunch of jugs and stuff and you try
All right, well, one of my schools did it. So yeah, but I think
Was this the one that burned down or another one?
Is this the one that? No, this was not the one that burned down. No, this was the
And now
one
I,
before the
and
one
now
that
I have
burned
put
down.
that story on, and now I have put a rough version of that story on the internet. You're welcome.
I appreciate it. I'm not worried. Nobody watches these things.
That's fair. That's fair. As somehow this one gets like 50 comments of what happened to the school.
I know, right? Like suddenly, like this is the one version that people watch, and they're all like, "Wait a minute here. Wait. We need some info on this."
A few of these get watched actually.
That is true.
Trying to remember
Surprises
which one
me.
was the biggest one.
Wasn't it the first one with the Grim Reaper?
It was either the Grim Reaper because I remember one of them kept holding like a really high place. I think it was because the Grim Reaper, yeah, had like a really high one for some reason, and
Yeah, People like the one of the ones that did the worst was the werewolf one, which
Yeah, the
surprised me.
werewolf is
Yeah, that's surprising.
Right?
technically the which one's the lowest? Oh,
Well, I think the
um,
Indiana Jones would be the lowest because it hasn't been up very long.
well, I wasn't gonna count that. It was yeah, well, Indiana Jones is gonna be. No, actually, something's lower than that.
What?
But
Yeah, Indiana Jones got full, and then another one got half of that.
which one was that?
The Berserker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, so that's where I think that is where the legend of the Siren came from. Is actually natural phenomena of poor people trying to actually do a nice thing and save people and basically getting dashed on the rocks. So, what do you guys think? Possible?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have other explanations?
Mermaids.
This is not the mermaid video. We're doing that in another one. This is about sirens and not the one that's on top of ambulances like you put up here. Do you have any explanation that doesn't go into other mythical monsters?
Well, dolphins.
Oh, no. Dolphins.
It could be a type of fish. Well, dolphins do make a loud squawking noise, but it could have been a type of fish that's now extinct that did mimic a type of singing or noise sound that would lure people there, which is why they wouldn't see them.
Yeah, that's possible. But yeah, I was saying various animals that made different calls could also be an explanation.
Because with the lyrebird, it's specific to Australia.
Well,
There's
I wasn't saying the lyrebird. I was just commenting on the lyrebird to show how diverse animal noises can be.
yeah.
Like, I doubt highly that a lyrebird was causing, like, is the birth of the myth of the sirens. No, I was saying that the lyrebird just shows how diverse animal sounds can really be, and to emphasize how much school lies to us.
Could also just have been.
Well, yeah, of course school lies to us. They tell us you're going to use this in your future. No, we fucking aren't.
I know, right?
I mean, it could also legitimately just been a trap from bandits. They actually did get some women, those people out there to sing to lure fishermen in, and then when they got there, they robbed them.
Yeah, but then wouldn't they have told that it was a bunch of bandits?
Now they killed them.
Yeah, but then if they killed them all, see, there's the problem. Where's the survivors for the stories?
You get at least one. You get the bandits going in, telling the wise tale to get a few stupid fishermen to follow in.
I don't know. That seems a little off. Like, it's not impossible, but like robbery doesn't usually seem to be the case. And like, what bandit's going to destroy the entire ship?
Gotta hide the evidence.
Yeah, but they were dashed along the rocks. That's part of the myth. So the bandits just managed to be in a part of this very treacherous water that didn't dash their ships to ribbons like the other one.
Well, no, the bandits' camps could have been built on the shoreline, and they could just they could have set their trap on the dangerous part of the rocks.
I don't know. Seems like a lot of work.
I mean, when you got nothing else to do.
It's ancient times. That like surviving is something else to do.
Yeah, and robbing people is full-time job for these guys.
I don't know. Like, I mean, again, to be in all fairness, it's not impossible. Like, we don't know.
You're asking for other options. I'm giving you other
No,
options.
no. Like, I'm being funny just to be facetious, but I'm saying, in all honesty, like, it's not impossible. Like, we don't know, so it's not an impossible one. I think realistically, it's probably a little unlikely, but no, it's a possible.
I mean, it
explanation.
could also
Like,
be. We could also
I
go
am
the route
genuinely being
ancient.
serious.
We could go the route of ancient aliens.
Okay, no, we're not doing the ancient aliens.
All right.
thing.
So what happened was the aliens would come down.
I give you the benefit. Zed, you see, I give him the benefit of the doubt, and look what he does to me.
I was gonna say, the best part is we can't even stop him. He's the one with the stop button.
Why did you have to tell him that?
I mean,
Because it's true.
Yes, but there's a chance he didn't figure that out.
We got the
Well, then
ancient
we would
aliens.
just be stuck here talking forever.
I mean, yeah, we can go full blown History Channel now. And like aliens came down, the humming of their ships lures sailors.
I mean, we both know where he lives. Nothing's stopping us from going over there and just knocking him off the computer and hitting the stop button.
Yeah, it
Let's
is. It's
see,
Sunday,
what-
and we're way too lazy for that.
What else? What else?
You're right.
Exactly. And now I bet if people do watch this one, their next question, besides me burning down a school apparently, will be, wait a minute, why is the person who's hosting not the one in charge of the video?
Could be like Jack Sparrow, sea turtles.
Well, given how much you hate technology, it makes perfect sense.
I don't hate technology, I hate computers.
Okay.
I hate a specific technology. That's my point.
Okay, fair. Fair enough.
And I'm sorry, how would sea turtles create the myth of the sirens?
I mean, it worked. Somehow it worked for Jack Sparrow, so sea turtles seem to be the answer for everything for that one.
I thought you had some elaborate story of how sea
Well,
turtles
I mean,
somehow
yeah,
like,
you could take some seaweeds, put it onto the sea turtle's head.
okay, I doubt that there are sailors
Okay,
who are
how
going to
much do I
mistake-
have to pay you to hit the stop button so we're done with this conversation?
Okay, so those are some of the possibilities of the sirens. Now, what is the moral of the story of the Legend of the Siren? The moral of the story is
Don't
this:
help people.
never help anyone. That's exactly right. That's a good moral to have.
Yeah, don't help people.
I like how both of us came to that conclusion.
Well, I mean, if it's apparently helping people that's getting people injured, yeah, don't help people. Well, that make me think that this isn't the solution. Why would sailors? This is ancient time. You think a ancient day sailor is gonna hear a random yell for help? That's like a Friday from them. They probably walk home and hear help, help. It's their son. They're like, I told him not to walk off the path, and look what he did. I'm not going after him.
Okay, Shadow R Fox, you do realize that people did help each other in ancient times.
I seem to recall that there was a story called the Good Samaritan, not the good army of people that isn't just one type of people from Samaria. No, Archimage,
Okay, yes, well, but that's the point. It wasn't just one person. Granted, it wasn't
remember
an
that story
army,
was
but it was more than one.
The Good Samaritan. I don't remember the story being the good all-around Greek people who always help out when they get lost at sea.
Okay, it wasn't specifically Samaritan.
Mm.
Like, not everybody from Samaritan is good.
Well, clearly there was just one.
I think you're missing the point of that.
So clearly, ancient day people didn't help each other. So.
Okay, I think you're taking the parable a little too literally.
I mean, that's how it goes. It's like you expect me to believe that many people are gonna start helping to the point they can form a myth around a bunch of boats crashing. I hear someone yell for help in ancient day. I'm like, well, tough luck for them. If anything, I will only believe it because they're going to look to see. Oh, good. If they're in trouble, I can steal their shit.
Well, maybe that was it. They also thought, cries for help, let's go steal their shit.
I think
and ended up
that's the
getting
more
wrecked on the
likely
rocks.
solution. Yeah, I think that. And then they asked how did that happen. Oh, sirens made sirens. That clearly, yeah.
I mean, again, yes, that could also be a good possibility.
That's
But I
probably how we
assume that
got the
not
curse of
everybody was trying to steal their shit.
That's probably how we got the curse of the mummy. It's like, oh, did he die from the curse? Yeah, I didn't just kill him so I could take the money. Clearly, no. It was the curse.
You know, the sad thing is that's actually got some fact to it. So, like, I can't dispute that.
Uh-huh. Maybe that one Samaritan wasn't that good. Maybe he was just waiting to rob the guy.
You were allowed to teach children. I would have put that out there. You were permitted to teach children.
And I told him, trust no one.
You also told them that if you see someone down, rob them.
Yeah, and you know what? They probably are walking away with more in their pockets.
Zed, please say something.
What do you want me to say?
I don't know. I don't know what to say to this.
Moral of the story, trust no one, steal everything unless you're at sea, in which case leave them. And
Yep,
the one
that's a
good
good moral
Samaritan
to
may
have.
not have been so good after all.
Oh, for heaven's
More
sake.
next time.
Yeah, next time when Shadow R Fox tries to rewrite the Bible and show that parable saying he helped them, but it was just to probably rob his ass.
I mean,
Which, considering the parable said he was robbed and left for dead and naked, that's kind of questioning what was he trying to rob.
You know what? He
Oh,
helped.
God.
Wait. I got logic to this. This is how we end
Oh
it.
no!
This is how
What
we
have I
end
done?
it. He
What
took
have I
him
done?
and he nursed him back to health, right?
Yes.
He was gonna sell him into slavery. An injured slave don't sell for much, but a healed slave, that'll go for something.
I'd like to point out this episode is supposed to be about sirens, and a minimum of a third of it is us going on God knows what tangents.
On that delightful note, I don't even know how to start. On that delightful note, I hope you enjoyed this look at sirens, and of course, you want more information that actually has to do with sirens and not the various tangents we went across. You can, by all means, look up Probable, Possible, Plausible, an explanatory guide to monsters and myths.
It will always be linked in the description.
Yes, and has far less tangents and talk about animes with Jesus and Buddha as roommates.
Clearly,
Which
they
we're
didn't
not
want.
lying is a thing.
Clearly, they didn't want the Good Samaritan as a roommate for obvious reason.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
On that note, we're done. Bye. Hit the stop button.